New Extra Charge Hot and Iced Coffee from Dunkin' is made with 20% extra caffeine from green coffee extract, because we could all use a little extra this year. Whether that's an extra boost, some extra boldness, or the drive to go the extra mile, we're extra ready for whatever comes our way and extra excited to take it on. Let's get it done with a medium extra charged coffee from Dunkin' for $2 with 20% more caffeine. And pair it with snackable stuffed bagel minis for an added all-day boost. Order ahead on the Dunkin' app. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Limited time offer.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. Christopher Media, let's make some noise. Welcome to Beer Nuts, a weekly excursion into the world of craft beer, brought to you by MichiganBeerGuide.com. And now, here are the Beer Nuts.
All right, back from the break. Chris, with me is JR from MichiganBeerGuide.com.
We back.
Uncle Pete.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Dugout.
Happy New Year, all.
Another beer nut joining us, Junior.
Howdy ho.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Excellent.
But by the way, thanks to everybody who downloaded the Mixed Nuts episodes. They actually went over fairly well, pretty well. People dug us just grabbing some beers, what we wanted to try, or our favorites, and we checked them out, and it was delicious. A couple episodes, but thanks to everybody who's downloaded. So welcome back, 2016 officially for us, and we're gonna do things a little differently today, guys.
Yeah, we're going to be jumping around topics for the next several months, where we've covered a lot of beer styles, and we just decided we're going to be all over the board, keep everybody guessing. So each week, you never know what you're going to get from us. We might cover a brewery, we might cover a city, we might cover a topic. But for today, Uncle Pete is going to take the reins and move forward with talking. This show will be all about the Dogfish Head Brewery.
All right, how about if everybody opens a beer with us? Sounds tasty.
Yes.
All right, cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
So, without any further ado, let's give you a little beer quote of the week. And our quote is from Babe Ruth, famous baseball player of old times. Sometimes when I reflect on all the beer I drink, I feel ashamed. But then I look into the glass and I think about the workers in the brewery and all of their hopes and dreams. And if I didn't drink this beer, they might be out of work and their dreams would be shattered. And I think it is better to drink this beer and let their dreams come true than to be selfish and worry about my liver. So famous words by Babe Ruth. I can appreciate that.
And it's another grand slam.
Keeping his thoughts on the working man.
Yeah. If you believe the rumors about Babe Ruth, it's amazing he was able to string that together.
Yeah. It was kind of choppy.
Yeah.
So as JR had mentioned, the Dogfish Head Brewery is going to be the focus of this episode. And a lot of us, I'm sure, that are in the listening audience have heard of Dogfish Head. It began in June of '95 by a gentleman called Sam Calagione. And he started actually with kind of a small brewing outfit and a little eatery. It was the state of Delaware, their first brew pub, and it opened up in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. And at the time, in 1995, it was the smallest commercial brewery in America. So he made his first batch called Shelter Pale Ale. I don't know, has anybody heard or seen that still around anywhere today? It may be local to them. I haven't seen it or heard of it. But
Into the brewery.
I'd love to try it.
Yeah, I've not seen it at the brewery either.
Okay. Well, he started on a little 3-keg homebrew system, the kind with the propane burners underneath. And in fact, that's the kind some of us out here use, some of them resigning. So it was kind of humble beginnings, just like a lot of our big beer breweries today, our craft brewers. And was doing little 12-gallon batches for the restaurant. He figured, okay, things got popular and it wasn't enough. And they were brewing round the clock pretty much all week. And so, of course, expansion had to happen. And they ended up moving up the road, opened up a bigger brew house, and went from there. That was around 99, and they had about 5 year-round bottles being distributed in some states. About that time, this is a gentleman that was getting into adding all kinds of strange ingredients to his beer. And we're really grateful for that, because I think you'll find the beer lineup we've got tonight is going to be very widely scattered with ingredients. Some very interesting things for sure.
Well, I've already learned something, because I always thought this was a brewery that was in D.C., but no.
Nope.
Delaware.
Yeah, got to get our maps out, I suppose, and check our geography now.
Magically whisked away to Delaware. Hi.
What?
I'm in Delaware.
That's all I got.
What did
It's really shallow pool for Delaware.
George Thorogood and the Delaware Destroyers.
Was that the original name?
Yeah, that's the name. Don't wear it out. Okay, so now they're right around 20 states distribution, 30 states distribution, and about 20 styles of beer. Dogfish Head has really expanded. They're even doing handcrafted spirits with vodka, gin, and rum nowadays. They still use their small original brew pub that they started with, and they still do experimental batches there. And you can also find Dogfish Head online if you want to check them out some more yourselves. They have their own blog called the Blogfish page, and they're also on Facebook and Twitter. They've got 9 year-round beers, 30 occasional rare beers, 4 seasonals, 4 draft only, 17 collaboration beers that they've done with other breweries, and over 250 brew pub exclusive releases over the years. They call themselves off-centered ales for off-centered people, and they use odd ingredients and crazy made-up styles. So they're really out there to challenge your perception of what craft beer is supposed to be, and I think they're doing a hell of a job. So we could get into our first beer. It's Indian Brown Ale. Everybody like to grab a taste here. We've talked about brown ales in past episodes. Junior. So this is a ABV of 7.2, about 50 bitterness units. It's a year-round availability. Came out in 1999, so it's got some history under the bridge. And this is really a cross between a Scotch ale, India Pale Ale, and an American Brown. So they're really doing a mashup here. It's going to be very well hopped malt. It's got each characteristic of each of those styles. When I look at it, it's kind of a much darker brown. Nice, long-lasting head on it. Very nice caramely notes, a little bit of coffee on the nose. Oh, wow. I pick up a lot of coffee on that. They dry hop it, just like they dry hop, continuously hop their 60-minute and 90-minute IPAs. And they use what they call aromatic barley and organic brown sugar. And that must be the brown sugar influence I'm getting that's giving me a real dark sweetness. How about you, JR?
Yeah, I'm getting a little like a burnt sugar.
Yeah.
See, like a little bit, not like a bad burnt, but like a charred,
Just
caramelized burnt. It's actually pretty good.
Kind of a creme brulee burnt.
Yes, exactly. And some sweetness there, but not really too much hops. It said that it's part IPA, but I think this is more malty than hoppy. But yeah, like a burnt brown sugar, coffee-like. I can see where the Scotch ale comes in. Nice and malty. Delicious.
I like it. How about you, Junior? Tastes good?
Yeah, it's like you said, the burnt brown sugar, molasses type flavor really comes up.
Very pleasant beer. It's my first time having it, actually.
Same here. Thanks for introducing it. Pass by that on the shelf any time, and you just think, a brown ale. And it's anything but.
JR, there's a little tidbit, if willing to share, about Sam Calagione. He's certainly being a brewer for a long time, he's a huge craft beer supporter. In 2009, he put on the Boston Light Beer Party, in which light beer was dumped into the Boston Harbor in protest for better beer. He did this just prior to the Craft Brewers Conference that was going on there in Boston. And it was a reenactment of the historical Tea Party. And the song you're listening to now in the background is one of the hip-hop rap sessions that he did live there right on the spot. And we're going to talk a little bit about Sam Calagione and his musical influences, too, in a few minutes. So he's a rebel.
The Boston Tea Party. I was wondering where you would lead me with that. You can lead me after the next beer. Have some insight into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that one, too.
Yes. Yeah, I visited the brewery two years ago, right before Christmas. Actually, I think it was between Christmas and New Year's, so almost exactly 2 years ago. I have a friend that lives in Fenwick Island, Delaware, which is just a little north of Ocean City, Maryland, on the border between those two states. And I found out that Milton was only at a half-hour drive. I was like, I have to go to the brewery. I was delighted to find a pallet worldwide stout when I visited, which was the amazing low price of $216 a case, or $32 a four-pack. So I did buy a four-pack. I was actually fortunate enough to get a tour as well. So nice little spot down there. Super cool, and have some really nice samples in their brewery. I like that they always have those one-offs at the brewery. very unique off-center beers, as they say.
I find myself near Delaware a couple times a year for work. I might have to maybe take a little detour
Yeah,
one day.
it's a must-stop place.
All right, we're going to go on to our second beer, Dogfish Head. It's called Midas Touch, ABV of 9, 12 bitterness units. So not too bitter, but a little higher alcohol than the Indian brown ale we just had. And I love the label on this. It's got what looks like a thumbprint, fingerprint, and we'll make the connection to that here with the story about this beer. It's a handcrafted ancient ale, they call it, with barley, honey, white muscat grapes, and saffron. So earlier we talked about how there were some interesting ingredients that Mr. Calagione liked to add to his beers. Well, he really went all out on this one. This is also a beer from '99, and it's the first beer in their Ancient Ale series. And they like to think of it as a liquid time capsule. And the reason is they got a recipe that they made for this beer based on a 2,700-year-old tomb that was opened in Turkey. And it's made with ingredients that was found in those 2,700-year-old drinking vessels from the tomb of King Midas. And so it's really something that's beer, wine, and mead. And if you like Chardonnay wine, you like beer, this would probably be something that you'd like.
That's my first thought when I tasted this was wine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got definitely a wine aroma. And so they worked with this biomolecular archaeologist named Dr. Patrick McGovern from the University of Pennsylvania. And they went into this tomb in Turkey. When they cut through the wall, they came face to face with, a 60 to 65-year-old male mummy, I guess you'd call it. And he laid on a pile of richly colored textiles, which was like the color of royalty. And in the background, they got really excited when they saw all these old Iron Age drinking sets, like bronze vessels and vats and jugs and drinking bowls and stuff like that. Because I guess what happens when they would bury, a prominent person, of that stature, back in those days, they'd have a huge party, a big feast. I guess we still celebrate, when people pass and we have a feast and celebrate their life. But they would bury the person in their tomb with all of the leftover food and drink and put it right into the tomb with them and seal up the tomb. And that was their thinking was, hey, this is going to sustain you for all of eternity in the afterlife. And so lucky for us, they found this tomb and dug it up. And this biomolecular archaeologist was able to get these pots and these jars. They took samples of the residues that were on them, and they were able to molecularly determine what it is they had for the feast and what they drank, what they ate. And so based on that, they created a recipe for a beer, and here we have the Midas Touch. Isn't that wild?
That's crazy.
I mean, that's the farthest out thing I've ever heard so far.
We're drinking a recipe of an ale that was
2,700 years old.
Yeah.
Wow. It's very interesting.
They made good stuff back then, apparently.
It's really light. It's light-bodied, light-colored, very effervescent and bubbly.
It's dangerous. I mean, it's a 9%er that doesn't taste like 9%.
And too, it doesn't come across as a light beer to the palate, at least. Like it looks light, but it's I'm tasting his wine. Like that's what I keep just really coming
I get
back
grapes
to with
and
this.
wine. I'm with you on that, Chris.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and myself, I get more mead than wine, and I get that sort of kind of thicker viscosity that mead would have.
Dugout, I'm with you. The first thing I noticed was the honey, both in the nose and in the taste, and then followed up with grape and wine characteristics.
It's not bitter, so to speak, but it does have a nice dryness on the finish.
Right, and there's just that touch of saffron in there. It's not over the top, and I'm a huge fan of saffron. By the way, this is the first Dogfish Head beer I'd ever had, was the Midas Touch.
It's really good. This is one of the very good, weirdest beers I've ever had.
Is this really a weird beer, or is it just a...
I just say that. It's not in a bad way. I think of it complimentary just because of the origins of it. It's weird to me that they would be able to go do that. I never thought of anything like that before, where you could go sample and take residues from, centuries and centuries and centuries old, drinking glasses and stuff and figure out what it was.
It's a beer with history, literally.
It was like CSI Egypt or something,
Well,
Brewpub.
Dogfish Head's motto, off-centered ales. This is certainly off-center.
So speaking of weird beers from Dogfish Head, they have one that is called their beer for breakfast. And we know that there are lots of beers that are really good with breakfast, but this one they happen to make with Scrapple. If anybody's ever heard of Scrapple, I think, JR, you've heard of it. Tell us about
Well,
that.
I grew up in the Philadelphia area. Scrapple's huge where I grew up, and I love Scrapple. Uncle Pete actually has a definition of how this is made, and I would rather not tell people because they would never in a million years try it.
Don't tell
But
us.
as a native, I would just tell you that it's made with all the scraps from the pig. And then they make sausage and bacon, cut all the good stuff out, whatever's left.
Does it smell good?
I think it's wonderful. It's kind of like all these, meaty pork scraps that get thrown into the thing and ground up and then mixed with like cornmeal mush. And you get like a loaf of it, and you fry it up in the skillet. And if you're from New Jersey, you put ketchup on it. If you're from Pennsylvania, you might maple syrup. Absolutely every time. I have to find a diner. I have to get it. I think it's wonderful, and if you grow up with it and you don't know what it's made from, it tastes delicious. If you aren't from there, you probably just think it's absolutely, the worst thing ever, and you don't want any part of it. But honestly, if you just don't know what it is and you fry it up, it's got a little bit of a crisp outer, and then the soft cornmeal in the middle, if you cook it properly. And every diner in the Philadelphia area has this, and I grew up about 45 miles west of the city in Amish country, and very popular there. It's also, I found it when I lived in Virginia. There's another variation of it they call pawn hoss. I really don't want to leave this exact thing. I'll read a little bit of scrapple is typically cut into 1/4 inch to 3/4 inch slices, pan fried until brown to form a crust, sometimes first coated with flour. I've never seen that. Maybe fried in butter or oil, sometimes deep fried. Scrapple can also be broiled. This is a good cooking method for like their scrapple crisp like I do. But it's often eaten as a breakfast side dish. That is true. Some people have it for breakfast, or it can be accompanied like a bacon or sausage would be. Served plain with either sweet or savory condiments, apple butter, ketchup, jelly, maple syrup, honey, or mustard.
They make it like a meatloaf or something and then slice it up? Or?
It's kind of like that, but it's like half meat, half cornmeal, so you get that like base for it.
Yeah.
Really look at the ingredients of a hot dog. You probably wouldn't want to eat that either, but hot dogs are good, especially if you get a good quality one, and same with this stuff. This is delicious.
I'd love to try it.
Well, yeah, I was sitting here thinking like this sounds gross, but then just reading it, I'm thinking like, well, I like hot dogs. It doesn't sound too far off. You made the exact same comparison.
Yeah, but if you read exactly,
I'm sticking to bacon for breakfast, anyways.
Just try it. But
so this
keep an open mind. It's actually really, really good. And this beer that they made with it, I remember reading about it. And like some of you may know, even though I live in Michigan, I have Philadelphia Eagles season tickets because I grew up there, and I was on the waiting list for 15 years, and they called me. So I wasn't going to give up my chance to get the tickets. But a dear friend of mine who lives in North Carolina drives from North Carolina to Philadelphia for almost all the home games. His name is Ross, and Ross found out about this, and he goes, well, I'm going to a game the weekend they're releasing that. He showed up the day after they released the Scrapple beer, and it was sold out, but he kind of begged, borrowed, and pleaded, and somebody went in the back and got a growler of it, and he got to actually taste a small sample of it. And he said he could taste the Scrapple in the beer, and it was very good. He enjoyed it. I should have skyped him in for the show tonight.
I'll tell you, they call it beer for breakfast for a reason. And not only has it got the Scrapple, but it's got maple syrup in there from, I think, the general area up there in Massachusetts or something like that. And barley that's been smoked over apple wood. They have lactose or milk sugar. They also put in the Scrapple, and they also put in some coffee beans that have been ground from the bean factory in St. Paul, Minnesota. So it's got your coffee, it's got your maple syrup, it's got your smoked barley. I mean, this thing sounds like breakfast in a bottle.
And there's more good news is my buddy Ross stopped by the brewery the last time he was going up for a game, and they told him they are going to make more of this and possibly even bottle it because it was so popular the first time. They released it, and they kind of did it as a one-off, a fun thing, and it got so much attention, and there was such a demand for it that they're now going to produce more of it. So perhaps one day we will get to try the Scrapple beer. And fellow beer nuts, I promise next time I go back to the Philly area, I'll bring back some Scrapple, and you can. I'll bring a hunk for all of us, and you can try it out for yourself. It's really pretty good stuff.
Doug, any history with Scrapple yourself?
None. Nope. It doesn't sound very appetizing to me.
Yeah, we got to seek it out.
It's definitely kind of a Philly East Coast thing, but keep an open mind. It's delicious.
Okay, well, that was our foray into the weird beers and all the crazy ingredients, and I think we're going to come upon some more, but let's go across to another beer here and talk about some of the maybe closer to normal stuff that we're used to. So what we've got now is a 90-minute IPA, and there's a lot of nines involved in this one. We've got a 9.0 ABV and a 90 IBU, so we're kicking it up a notch. And this is probably going to be a really good bitter IPA. So let's give a pour. Take a look at it. Very nice golden color, white head.
I'll bet Dugout likes this.
What do you think of this one, Dugout? You got one over there?
No, we don't have that one here.
Sorry.
My bad.
Apologizing. Oh, sorry, we're having a delicious beer.
Yes. Everybody, have delicious beers. Well, Esquire magazine calls Dogfish Head 90-minute IPA perhaps the best IPA in America. It certainly is a good one. Best savored a snifter. Very malty when I taste this one. And this is a continuously hopped beer. It doesn't really overwhelm me on the hops, and it could be a little older, I think, if I take a look at the bottle.
It's the first thing I think.
Maybe a little aged here. Yeah, got a date. What do we got here? 8/22/15. So it's an August beer. Here we are, January. So a few months later, it might have faded up a little bit. But
Dugout not missing much then, because the reason I said Dugout would like it, he likes a high hoppy beer, and I'm sure in September this was probably wonderful.
Yeah, I have had my fair share of 90 minutes,
Yes.
and it's a beer I enjoy very much, but I agree with your point. It is meant to be drink fresh. This is a comment I made to Uncle Pete. We were gathering some beers for the show, is that in our region here in Michigan, becoming a little more difficult to find those particular, the 60-minute and the 90-minute from Dogfish Head. It's a little challenging to find them fresh, and you really do have to check dates.
Yes.
On a beer like that.
Want to clue me into the title as to why it's called 90-minute? Is it something part of the process, or?
yeah, in the brewing process, as you're going through your brew boil, you're boiling the wort, you can take on a 90-minute brewing cycle and continuously hop for 90 minutes. And that way they have times and that on the recipe that'll take you to a certain original gravity that you're after before you pitch your yeast and start the fermentation process. So, for instance, we've made beers where we've boiled for 60 minutes, 90 minutes, and the longer you boil, a lot of times you'll increase your original gravity because you're boiling off water. So it just adds to the flavor of the beer. It concentrates the maltiness and the sugars that are fermentable. And so if you got a 60-minute IPA, that's a 60-minute boil, 90 minutes, 90-minute boil, and so on. Sound good to you guys?
Yeah, it helps to make sense to me.
Dogfish Head would probably like to take a little credit for this so-called term called continuously hopping. They have some other things that they're also known for, and one of them is called a Randall. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that. I've heard of it. I've seen it. But
Like a Randallizer?
A Randallizer, sure.
Mm-hmm.
They call it an organoleptic hop transducer module, otherwise known as a double chamber filter. You connect it to the tap of your favorite beer. You fill it with flavor-enhancing ingredients. And as the beer filters through it, you could have whole leaf hops in there, spices, herbs, fruits. And the alcohol in the beer, as it flows through these ingredients, will strip the flavor, put that flavor into the beer.
And when I visited the brewery, I purchased a little, like, $20 little jar that has a tarp. And basically, you put it in there, and it's almost like a martini mixer. You put, like, there's a carton, you put, like, fresh hops, for example. And then you put beer in there, and you strain it out. And it's equivalent of what I'm saying.
Okay. Maybe one of the first models or something.
Yep. I should have busted it up in the show. That's a fresh hops.
Remember last year we went to the Brew Fest in Ypsilanti last summer? If you went to Dark Horse's stand, the Dark Horse Brewery, they had about 25 Randallized beer taps lined up at their station, and they had, you name it. You pick the fruit, pick the flavoring, and they had it all running through Randallizers there. And you could taste all these different beers. It was like going to Baskin Robbins almost.
Oh, wow.
Is that Bell's?
No, Bell's had the ice cream flavored beers.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Or Greenbush had the ice cream flavored beers.
Okay.
Yeah, when you go to the brew pub in Rehoboth, they will have a Randallized beer on tap.
I mean, it really looks kind of complicated, but it's simple when you think about it. You're just pushing it through it's like a whole house filter, it looks like, for a water filter. And I think they've pretty much mastered it now where they can make sure that the beer coming out the other end doesn't foam up too much or, get real sloppy. So if you haven't ever tried it, keep an eye out for it. Some of your local craft beer bars might have them.
I'm pretty sure our friends at the Oak Cafe have it. There's another bar up the road, that Three Nicks. They have one.
Okay.
A lot of local pubs have these now, so get on the lookout for them. And it's another way to be off-centered, and that's it's in right in with their repertoire.
Taking it to another level. And, I think they're kind of like a trademark supplier now to the rest of the world on these randalizers. So thanks to Dogfish Head for bringing that about. Love these high-tech solutions. We're going to move on to Palo Santo Marron. This is a malt beverage aged on Palo Santo wood. And, oh, boy, this is a dark one. Dark one that we're pouring here. Okay, so what is Palo Santo wood? It's an exotic Paraguayan wood. And they actually made the fermentation tanks for this beer out of that wood. Handmade brewing vessel. And this is a brown ale base that is unfiltered, that's fermented in the Palo Santo wood vat. Palo Santo actually means holy tree. Wood has been found. And I think that mine should impart caramelly, vanilla type complexity. As a lot of times wood does that. It does give you some vanilla and caramel and a lot of roastiness. So let's take a taste. Well, let's take a look at it. Like I said, it's very dark, pretty much like stout. Not seeing any light through this one. Very minimal head. Getting
this is tasty.
Yeah, like a dark on the nose.
I've had this before. I didn't remember it being so flavorful. A lot of the Dogfish Head specialties, they're not shy about ramping up the ABV. They cost a little bit more, but you only need one usually.
They got these huge, Palo Santo wood vats. I guess they hold 10 gallons apiece. I mean, that's a big wooden vat holding that much. I mean, I've seen wood barrels, but a huge vat made out of wood, man.
Yeah, this is like, kind of reminds me of a dark strong ale without the Belgian characteristics. It's got the dark fruits, caramel, roasted malt, almost like a stout. Very, very pleased with the effect of the wood on this. Very tasty. This is a marathon, not a sprint.
I suppose this one would age well. This is a June of 15 beer, so it's already got about 7 to 8 months on it.
This will be good in 2-3 years.
Wow. See, that's my first time for this one. If you haven't had it out there, try Dogfish Head Palo Santo Marron.
Amen. I highly recommend it.
Reading everything about it, I want to.
So, Doug, you're a music man, aren't you?
Yep.
Have you heard anything about Sam Calagione and his hip-hop music?
Yes, I've been to the brewery, the brew pub and the brewery itself, and had a personal tour from Sam himself, where I did get to hear some of the hip-hop music they were playing.
Yeah, cool. He's actually in a group that's part of the Dogfish Head family, I guess you'd call it. They're called the Pain Relievers. And they got a song, I think we're playing it here, called Pinchin' Pennies. And they're like Funk Master IBU, and Sam's the founder. And they got DJ Little Guy, Brian Selders, the Dogfish Head lead brewer. And so I think they like to get together and rock the mic a little bit. They've actually got an album out with their hip-hop songs and their beer-related. And they got an album called Check Your Gravity. So if you like music and hip-hop, it might be some real beer nuts out there do this and get together. Check it out. They've also got one called Untethered Limp. And they got a lot of old-school jams on them. So they got a favorite song here called Check Your Gravity. Another one called I Got Busy with an AB Sales Girl. Oh, don't get involved with the AB Sales Girls. Oh.
That's funny. Is that like an ABI?
Brewers Bling Bling, Untethered Limp, Pitching Pennies, little ditty of being too cheap to buy brand new brewing equipment. And Let's Play Twister, about acting stupid after drinking too much crappy corn and rice-laden beer. Oh boy, there's a big reference in that one.
Oh, I heard that happens.
So with that, we appreciate that we've got beer nuts like us out there that love music too and match that up with their beers. We've got another beer coming up. Dugout, I think you picked one out for us tonight too.
I did, yes. The next one up is called Piercing Pills. It's a winter seasonal. It's a Czech-style Pilsner brewed with with pear juice and with pear tea, and has Saaz hops. And I was having a little discussion about the oddity of releasing a beer like this in the winter, because it comes across more of as a summer type of drinking beer, but it had to do with the ripeness of the pears being used in the beer. And, they're off-centered beer. They don't have to play by anybody else's rules. They can do what they want. So, hence, this is a winter seasonal.
The pear seems to cut the bitterness on this. Like, right at the end, you're expecting, at least I was expecting it to be bitter, and it smoothed out, so to speak.
Yeah, it's very yellow, as a Czech Pilsner should be, but with a slight haze to it. And I would assume that's from the fruit juices and possibly the tea being used in it. It's got nice carbonation, really just kind of a perfect carbonation level for this beer. In the flavor profile, I get sort of that hop Czech bitterness up front, but as you were saying, that pear kind of comes in and cuts it a little bit, but then you also get a little bit of almost like an astringency from the tea that's being used in it as well. It's really an interesting beer.
I have to say, guys, a little off track. You guys have changed the way I drink beer. I swear to God, it's become much more of an experience.
Success. Oh man, that's awesome to hear.
So I believe this one's clocking in at right about 6%. So not a huge ABV, and especially not a huge ABV by Dogfish Head standards, as we'll find out with the next couple beers that are coming up.
Boy, I love the sounds of this pear, though. I mean, I love pears, especially when they're just ripe, perfectly ripe. We had a pear tree in our backyard in Dearborn, Michigan, and we used to harvest those and make pear pie. Think of an apple pie, but replaced with pears, and oh man, it was so good.
Boy, that sounds delicious.
They are. It does. It does knock you out.
There's no fruit I'd like before. I mean, I was up in Franklin this weekend and went to the Lager Mill, the homebrew and beer store there, and I asked. They had probably 15, 20 different kinds of ciders, and they didn't have a single pear cider, and that's all I wanted.
Wow.
I found one that was apple pear, and I did buy that, but come on, man, you got to have a pear cider. So, pear is my favorite fruit.
Hey,
they're so sweet. They're so sweet. The fermentable sugars in there are just,
Yep.
For more on pear ciders, check out episode 8.
That's right.
And they had one, and I was looking for the JKs, and they had all these JK ciders, but no pear. The lady actually was like, her feelings were, she's like, I will order some this week. Because she knew that the Ace cider brand that has the aces on them. There was a pineapple one. There's a couple different ones. I can't remember the brand, but there's got a card with ace on it. And she goes, I know they have a pear one. And
yeah, that's Ace Cider out of California.
Yes, yep, exactly.
Hey,
sorry to get off the beaten path, but I'm a big fan of pear anything.
Well, I'm staying on this beaten path real quick. I keep seeing this flannel mouth cider out being stocked with the craft beers. Is that worth anything, guys?
It's good, and it's local. That's
local, like from a few blocks away.
No, from a few miles away.
I gotcha.
In Armada,
okay,
Michigan. They have a few different ones worth checking out. There's a habanero.
I saw that.
There's a dry hopped cider, which is my favorite out of all of them.
I love the habanero one. I have some.
Blake's. I'm a fan of Blake's cider.
Blake's, yeah.
Oh, it's made with Blake's.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
all
they
right.
have a tasting room up there now, and
we got to go.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait. We got to do some beer nuts field trips.
Amen, brother.
Yes, but we're talking about Dogfish Head. We got to.
Yeah, as soon as we get that Uber sponsorship.
Reel us in, Chris. Yeah. So we seem to be heading ourselves right up the ABV scale. It seems like, just like we usually do.
Well, we took a drop. We took a drop on this one because this is the 6, and actually this is the lowest ABV we have tonight from Dogfish Head.
All right.
But I would recommend this. You guys search this out, try it out. I really do enjoy it. I like a good Pilsner from time to time.
How do you spell Czech anyway? It's not CHECK.
CZECH.
Yeah,
I love
that's a tongue twister.
Because the Saaz hops are I love good Czech Pilsner.
Is it PILZNER?
Nope, PILSNER.
See, I don't know anything about
Pills. You need soft water to brew it, and you need Saaz hops to brew it. But if you can get it right, it's delicious.
So you got like Pilsner Urquell,
yep.
Sierra Nevada Summertime Lager, Summerfest.
I also want to let everybody know, as long as we're talking about the Czech Pils style, is one of my favorite and one of the most iconic brands, as Pete mentioned, is the Pilsner Urquell. And for years and years, it was served in the green bottle, which resulted in skunky, What a shame to ruin a good beer. Now, I am pleased to say they finally have switched to a brown bottle. So now you can get really good, if you can get it fresh enough, really good Pilsner Raquel in the brown bottle. When it's imported over, if you get it before it's too old, it's wonderful beer.
Oscar Blues has a Pilsner too, I think, in that style.
And Mama's Yellow Pills, I think.
Mama's Yellow Pills. And speaking of Oscar Blues, just give them a shout out for their good deed this week. They canned up a bunch of fresh drinking water in beer cans, or aluminum cans, I guess. Shipped it up to Flint, Michigan, where they've been having a hell of a time getting good drinking water up there. So
Yeah, President had to step in.
3 cheers for Oscar Blues for stepping up, man. Good job.
50,000 cases of water that is donated to the city. That's a good.
It's fantastic.
That's good for our community. Our hats off to them. Salute,
yeah. Salute,
Oscar Blues.
Oscar Blues.
Yeah, you get the drinking water pipes fixed
So,
up there. It's
everybody listening,
mess.
go out and buy an Oscar Blues product this week to thank them for that good deed. You can find 1050. That's you won't find many better stouts out there. And it is 10.5%, which is why it's called 1050. Fantastic. Old Jub's fantastic. I think we've had almost all their beers on our show. Dale's Pale Ale, Mama's Yellow Pills. So anyway, back to Dogfish Head. I think Dugout is going to introduce our next beer. Am I not right?
Next up on the docket here is a beer called Higher Math. It's a whopper. It's listed at 17% on the ABV. Which is huge.
yeah.
IBUs are at 35, so not a very hoppy beer. And what we were drinking here is the original release from November 2015. So this is the first time for this one.
Oh, really?
Yep.
This is a brand new beer?
It's a brand new beer. It's a golden strong ale fermented with sour cherry juice and cocoa nibs. And
Holy smokes.
so the little backstory on this one is way back in the early 90s, 20-something-year-old waiter in New York City named Sam got a taste for small American microbrews. A doer, Sam stopped by a homebrew store and embarked on the first batch of his very own beer. On the way home, he spotted a bag of cherries at his local bodega and thought it'd make himself his beer a little more interesting. And he was right. And the day after he and his friends enjoyed that first batch, he started researching what would it take to open a brewery, and the rest is history. Higher Math is a tribute to that auspicious first beer and celebrates 20 off-centered years of Dogfish Head Ale. So there is a big number 20 on the bottle. It's gold. It's a green label with gold. Number 20 on it.
And a big birthday cake.
That is an interesting
that's
aroma.
chocolate cherry cake right there. I mean, that is a tall glass of beer.
Boy, I'll tell you,
I
the
actually
first...
chewed. When I had that in my mouth, I was chewing it.
Well, this reminds me of a sherry or a dessert wine. I mean, it's got that viscosity. Guessing there's some legs. Yeah, a little bit of legs on the glass. I mean, there's some residual sugar. I mean, it's intense. Definitely some pineapple, some mango-y type. You can tell the sour cherries morphing into different kinds of fruits. You can tell some cocoa, some chocolate. Man, this is intense.
Yeah.
Big cloudy.
This is an aperitif for after like dinner, like with your dessert. As a matter of fact, when I go out to a nice dinner with my wife, she always orders like a cheesecake or a nice sweet, cake or pie dessert, and I always tell the waiter, well, I prefer to drink my dessert, and I always look at the like fine ports and dessert wine, and that's usually what I end up with. I can substitute this for a glass of port in a heartbeat. Fortunately, I have a little mini snifter here, which is a perfect vessel to drink this. I mean, this is a sipper. You don't want to talk a marathon over a sprint. I could make this glass last a half hour.
Absolutely.
It's a sipper.
Easy.
All right, pop quiz for the beer nuts. I keep picking up something when I smell. I swear to God, it reminds me of barbecue sauce. What would that be that's making me think like it's not like I'm not getting anything smoky, but I'm getting something like some kind of spice or something that
I think it might be a kind of a sour tartness you're getting from the cherry fruit.
I think it's the fermented cherries that you're picking up.
maybe
Like
I'm
a
like
really
the sweetness,
dark fruit, almost like a fruit cake
like-
would be.
So my nose keeps saying like this is something you've smelled in barbecue sauce, but no, it's definitely sweet, and I taste the cherries in the taste, but it's just peculiar to me when I'm sniffing this.
Pineapple. I am definitely getting pineapple in this. And, everybody's palate is different. So you might be getting barbecue sauce, I'm getting pineapple. There's a lot going on in this beer.
No, I just think it's something that's probably like a component of barbecue sauce that's in this or something. It's just, it's what my nose is saying to me, like.
It has like a kind of a burn to it almost, like a burn flavor.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking the same thing. It burns all the way down, not just in the back of your throat. I mean, just all the way down.
Is that the 17%?
Yes,
Yeah,
I believe so.
you want to talk about warming?
There's no
beer.
mask on this one.
And a good pork's usually around 17, 19%.
Right. Don't light a match near your mouth, Chris.
It reminds me of a European liqueur called Kirsch.
Oh, yeah. We used to, I have relatives in Switzerland, and I visited, and we were drinking cherry kirsch out of tablespoons with a cube of sugar in it, and you would light it on fire and then give it a quick sip. You didn't want to burn your lips or your mustache.
Sounds safe.
You had to do it quick. Quick was the key word there.
Kind of like when you go to the Greek restaurants around here and you get an opa.
Pour it over the cheese and flame the cheese out, huh? Well, definitely the high ABV beers like this, I'm sure, would sit in the cellar very nicely and behave themselves. And within a couple of years, you'd probably get some little nuances and things are changing, and maybe things will mellow out a little bit and come together. Dogfish Head does make quite a few beers, I think, that are candidates for aging, and we talked about aging in the past, but, when it comes to aging beer, I like to say it's all about willpower and preference. You got to have willpower because you just got to put it away and forget it, right? It's
Well,
like
I ate you for a couple days.
just like that guy on the Ronco commercial. Set it and forget it. Put it away. But,
I thought about aging this one, and I originally bought it to age, but, the show won on this one.
Yeah.
And we win because it's on the show.
Everybody wins, yes.
No complaints whatsoever. It's a tasty brew all the way.
Doug, makes you feel any better? I only had one, and we're drinking it. So
it wasn't a cheap bottle of beer. I remember that. It hit the shelves.
It was right around $10 for the 12-ounce bottle,
Yep.
which
I've
not
often
too bad, really, when you think about it.
I've often said, what happens if I get hit by a bus tomorrow?
Yeah.
That higher math be bequeathed to someone else, probably a fellow beer nut. So that's, why not just enjoy it now while we can? So,
We hope you don't get hit by a bus.
but I am glad that we tasted it because, as you guys know, I love those dessert wines, and this is almost the same category of enjoyable fermented beverage.
When it comes to ageable beers, though, really, there's no hard and fast rules. I mean, you can hold on to whatever you want. I know Dogfish Head, I think the 120-minute, they've got an old school barley wine, Immort Ale, they've got the higher ABVs, and then we're going to talk about Worldwide Stout next, which is certainly a candidate for aging. It's up to you. If you like to age your beers, see what happens over the years. Maybe keep one from each year and set them next to each other at some point in time and give them a taste. That's always fun to do, the vertical comparisons. Yeah, John's got one here. How old is that, John? That's
about 2.
We got a bomber of some other
It's
brand.
about 2 years old. Because we were doing Dogfish Head, I had this beer that I kind of forgot about in my beer fridge. It got lost in the shuffle.
What's
It's
it?
called Rosabi. It's an imperial pale ale brewed with wasabi. It's 8% alcohol by volume.
Wasabi.
And it's about 2 years old, so it's way past its prime. Probably should have been drank a year and a half ago. But because we're doing the show, let's just check it out.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I taste wasabi, it just kind of punches a hole right through the roof of my head, right up through your sinus, and boom.
That's a great.
When I worked for Newcastle,
I love that shit. I mean,
Wasabi
I look at the
does.
sushi. I'm happy that I got this, but I'm disappointed. I think I just had so many beers in my fridge, I just overlooked this. And I'm sure it'll come out again, and I'll get it fresh and try it. But what do you think?
It's got an interesting nose. I'm sniffing here, and I get just a very slight hint of the wasabi. Definitely a malty character on the nose. I don't get a real hop
It's
floweriness.
now.
Yeah.
There's no hops left. But, and I'm glad that we're going to break up the going from that higher math worldwide stout.
Well, again, here's a toast to Dogfish Head for trying all these crazy ingredients. I love it. Wasabi. Who would have thought? Wow. Okay, well, we got something tasty coming up next.
I'm excited for this one.
Oh, Chris is excited.
I'm
We gotta get right to it.
I'm a stout fan.
We don't want to hold him up. Let's get through this one, man.
Well, no, I still got some higher math left. Let's calm down.
I told you there was a palette of worldwide stout there. before I went to the brewery, I went to the local beer store where my buddy that was visiting told me to go, and they had singles of this, and it was like $10 a single. And I'm like, okay, I got 2 of them, not knowing what it was at the time. And I went home to his house. I was a guest in his house. He drinks nothing but, fizzy yellow beer, and that's fine. I wasn't going to make him drink any. So I cracked this thing open brand new, not knowing it really needs some aging. And it took me an hour to drink 1 12-ounce bottle, and by the end of that, I was feeling pretty good. So without further ado, we introduce Worldwide Stout. We'll allow Doug out to introduce this gem.
All right. This is another big beer. 15 to 20% on the ABV. Little decent amount of hops in this one. IBU's at 70. It's a very limited release. It was originally released in December of 1999. I did not know this beer was around that long. It's brewed with a ridiculous amount of barley. It's dark, roasty, and complex. It's ageable, as we were talking about, and I believe our bottle we have in front of us is at least 2 years old, maybe older.
We're looking for a date on ours. We want to check it out, too.
I just know that it's been in the back of my fridge for 2 years. So, and I've been eyeing this one to drink. I almost drank this before, right around the holidays.
We're glad you had an excuse.
Same.
Guys, if I may, this is beer that I got from that pallet that I saw at the brewery. I remember sending one Doug's way. The bottling date is 12/11/13, so it is, as I said, 2 Christmases ago, or about when I bought this. And I would like to read, as my mantra is, always like to read the label, and this is a very short and sweet and perfect description of this beer. A very dark beer brewed with a ridiculous amount of barley.
He's not messing around, people. That is what's you know what? We're going to start a Beer Nuts Instagram, and we're going to put the bottles from tonight on here, because these have definitely been some interesting bottles. He's not messing around, guys.
One thing I love about their bottles is they all have the imprinted Dogfish Head logo imprinted on the in the glass. I love bottles that have that kind of character instead of it's just a plain boring label. So
must mean business is good.
Yes,
this beer is anything but boring. I'll tell you that. Copious amounts of
down with boring beer.
We had some motor oil again,
and I can say that it was a lot harsher when I first tried that fresh one. It was very hot and a lot more, almost like a fusel alcohol to it because it was so fresh and boozy. And time has been good to this. This is much more palatable, and I would still say it's a sipper, but I struggled to finish that fresh one.
Well, this is one of those deserters, like you said, JR. It's got those port qualities, a nice after dinner aperitif, something to enjoy and sip. Love it.
Yeah, this clocks in about 18%.
Yeah, it's definitely a malt bomb, but it does have some balance to it. Being that it is 70 IBU.
This could age for another.
It's dark like tar.
It tastes very good right now.
Great sweetness. Just a fantastic malty sweetness.
I'm thrilled that we opened this bottle tonight. I really am. This tastes. This tastes.
It's
awesome.
right where it needs to be.
Ooh. Oh wow. Oh whoa. Oh, the finish on that. What is that? It's kind of like a smoky finish.
Sort of. I almost picked up like a hint of coconut on it, but there's no coconut in it.
I got a little vanilla in it.
No, there's a sweetness to it too. That's all the barley, right?
Right.
And I can tell you that wasn't there when I tried it the day I bought it, but it's there now. It's developed very nicely. Little toasted coconut.
Oh, this one. This one. I want to nurse this one.
I wish I had a few of these in my cellar.
Oh wow, that even coffee like too. I don't know. It's a lot of things going. It's. What's this called again?
It's the 2 years has developed
Worldwide Stout.
Worldwide Stout.
Well, I'm hearing lots of silence. That's a good thing. That means everybody's
they're contemplating.
Well, no, it's like cooking. Like people, the ultimate compliment for a chef is just silence because everybody's eating. Right. Like I think it probably goes with the beer. Like can't talk, drinking.
Yeah, like what else more can you say above how good it is and how awesome it is?
The best thing you can say is nothing because you're too busy consuming it.
Correct.
I know Junior's over here consuming. He's been pretty quiet. You got any comments to throw in, Junior?
Yeah, this one, it's really alcoholic, but it's not as much of a bite as the last one we had. But it's got like a dark chocolate type of like upfront taste to me more than anything. It's like dark chocolate, kind of like a Hershey's bar without the milk chocolate and dark chocolate.
I get a lactose sweetness from it as well. I enjoy it. This is very enjoyable. Thank you very much for picking this one out tonight, you guys. And thanks to Dogfish Head. Wow.
Yeah, I get the feeling they know what they're doing.
Yeah. I'd love to go see it firsthand, like you guys have been lucky to do that. So it's on my bucket list now. So thank you, Sam Calagione. Thank you so much for Dogfish Head and all of these fantastic beers. We love it that you're doing all of the off-centered ales, and we're just a bunch of off-centered beer nuts over here. So
I tell you, too, looking at the videos we've been looking up on the YouTube. What am I, 60? But with his rap group and stuff. He definitely is. He's a younger guy.
Yeah, and you know, he's not afraid of publicity. He gets right out there in front of everybody. He's done TV show. I believe he's got a webcast now called "That's Odd, Let's Drink It."
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, they were on the Brew Dogs, I think, too. Whipped up. I can't remember what they whipped up on that episode, but I'm sure it was an interesting one. Probably something they dug out of the ocean right there off of Delaware and mixed it up with some crab cakes and something else and put it in the pot. I'm just reaching here, but I'm I'm inspired. Let me just put it that way.
Well, they make some pretty darn good spirits, too. I had a bottle of, took a couple bottles of chocolate vodka home with me. And actually, I was going to stay with my cousins up north and outside of Baltimore. And so I had the 2 bottles with me. Get up there, we crack one, bang, it's gone in like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And so what else is there left to do except get the other one I was taking home? And that died a little slower death than the other one, but it didn't survive the night. That stuff was just amazing.
You were pitching into the cause. Good for you, man.
Well, next time I'm there, I'm going to get some DFH gin because I'm a gin man. So
sounds good.
I'm feeling a little off-centered.
They have done their job.
That's what they want, and I raise my glass to Sam and to Dogfish Head for being one of the legendary craft brewers, and also happy to say that they're still independent, have not lost their craft beer card.
Who distributes them? Because they seem to be everywhere. I have never not been anywhere. They seem to be like a ubiquitous craft beer brand. Have they amassed that amount of distribution in their existence, or is somebody helping them out? Is somebody helping them out?
Well, they're in 30 states, is what I looked up, or maybe in a little more than 30 states. But with as many beers as they've made since '95, is that 20 years now? They've made a good name for themselves, and people are clamoring for it across the country.
Yeah, it wasn't the easiest road for them. I mean, their demand was far outweighed the supply that they could deliver to, which is why they're not in, at least 48 states. But there was a time where they had to actually pull out of states because they couldn't produce enough beer to service the markets. I think we're kind of lucky here. This was not one of the states that was pulled out of, but I believe they were out of Indiana for some period of time, and quite a few other states in the Midwest even.
Oh, wow.
I can tell you, when I lived in Nevada, they were a big hit out there. So
I'm sure our friends that are listening that are up in the northeast part of the country are thinking how lucky they are to have them right in their backyard. So we know how that feels with some of the great breweries we've got here in Michigan. So again, thanks to Dogfish Head. It kind of brings us to the point of our episode where we've got to have a little conversation about our favorite beer tasted tonight. So beer nuts, let's see. I'm going to reach out to Doug and Chris on your end. You guys go first and let us think it over and let us know what you consider your beer of the night.
No thinking on my part. The Worldwide Stout.
That was
with honorable mention to Higher Math.
And I do have a little bit of thought.
What pushed you over the edge there, Chris? What pushed you over the edge?
I like stouts. There was just something so. I mean, with Higher Math, there was a whole peculiar element, which I guess that's what they're going for when you look at their mission statement, But I don't know, I loved the finish of the stout. There was so much going on in that, it started out different and finishes way different. I was picking out. Well, you heard me 3 or 4 different things from the finish of that stout, and just right now. You give me a stout, I'm in. So that's where I'm at as far as my craft beer palate development so far. So
okay, cool. How about you, Dugout?
I'm going to remove 2 right away. I think the first one I'll remove is the Piercing Pills. And nothing wrong with the beer. It's just wasn't in my top tier. But I'm also removing the higher math because I truly think that higher math needs a couple years stuck away in a cellar.
I thought you were maybe leading to higher math by doing these subtractions. You know, there was some there was some hints there that led me to believe that.
He picked up in the entendre.
So I'm between two right now. The Worldwide Stout, as Christopher said, I mean, it's intense, it's complex, it's easy to drink, but not too easy to drink. And then the other is the Midas Touch, which...
I was thinking the same thing, too. So going back to that first one, the one we warmed up on kind of over here.
And the thing about that one is, from the first sip, from the first time I had it, and knowing the backstory, it blew me away. It absolutely blew me away. And still to this day, I enjoy it just as much as I did that first time. I think it's a beautifully crafted beer. It's always consistent. And I love the ingredients in it. So that's my choice. The Midas
Touch. Going with the Midas Touch, the Golden Touch. Okay, we got a Worldwide and a Midas. How about you, Junior?
Yeah, I the two big ABV ones were good for a change up. I guess I haven't had a beer like that in a long time. Beers like that, but I'm gonna go with the through and through 90-minute IPA because I've had this beer for a couple years now, and it's been one of my favorite IPAs since I've started getting into the craft beer scene. I remember I had the 120-minute, and Uncle Pete here left one in the fridge, and I snuck it out one day, and he was trying to age it, and you got to keep those locked down because guys like me are gonna be on the hunt for those. So just make sure when you're aging these beers, keep them in a safe spot too.
How could I be mad about that? I'm raising them right. Good.
Yeah.
I'm raising them right. Okay, so we've got a three-way so far, so we're going to do a tiebreaker probably somewhere tonight, unless JR comes up with a different one.
Well, first of all, I want to say I don't think we actually formally introduced Junior as Pete's son.
That's right, Uncle Pete Jr.
Uncle Pete's son is Junior, so I'm really happy that I'm almost proud to hear that he worked one of your 120s, man. You left it there, and I hope one day that when my son's over the age of 21, that
I went looking for it and it wasn't there. So, I knew where it was then.
It's all good, but you know what? I like the Midas Touch a lot. I like the higher math a lot, but as somebody who tasted that Worldwide Stout when it was brand new and hot, and it took me forever to drink. It was harsh. It was like, oh boy, it was like a job to finish it. And now to two years later, taste it and know what it's really supposed to taste like. That's a home run, and I nothing else that I had came close to it. So I have to vote for the Worldwide Stout. So Uncle Pete, you
okay? We got two for Worldwide Stout, so that's a good trend for Worldwide.
Back to you for the final vote.
Well, it's asking for my favorite beer, and I'm going to have to go with the Indian Brown, actually, because I'll tell you why. It's actually a fresh beer. It's got a late November bottling date on it, so it's only about a month and a half old. And I was pleasantly surprised for a brown ale that's, we talked about it being a mashup between a Scotch and an IPA and a brown ale. I was really happy with that, and I thought, like JR had mentioned, it's like, I pass that up on the shelf all the time just because it says brown ale, and boring. And but not for me. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go buy some more of that one. Hats off to the Worldwide, hats off to the higher math, and the big ABV stuff. Hats off to the creativity from Sam Calagione and the Midas Touch, and all of the creative influences that he's brought to the craft beer scene. But I'm going to go back to a kind of a basic and do the brown ale. And it's not going to be the winner, obviously. Worldwide Stout got 2 votes out of the 5 of us. So beer of the week is, the drum roll. Dogfish Head Worldwide Stout. A very dark beer brewed with a ridiculous amount of barley. Congratulations.
Way to hit the post, Uncle Pete.
The fact that these guys have 4 beers nominated for Beer of the Week just tells you what they're all about, how successful they are.
We did focus on their brewery. But yeah, the variety is wide, I believe, is JR's point.
And the quality is high, along with the variety. On every beer is high quality.
The feeling is mutual.
5 beer nuts here, and we had 4 beers nominated. How often does that happen? It's usually like 4-1 or 3-2.
Yeah,
we had 4 beers. I mean, that's how good they do what they do. So
I was first.
Great topic. Uncle Pete, thank you for choosing this week's topic.
Yeah, I was first exposed to this brewery a couple years ago. Ended up in D.C. for business and visited a friend, and that's pretty much all we drank all night. Was he had remember he had like 3 different varieties of Dogfish in his fridge. I have no idea what they were at the time. I was just like, yeah, whatever, beer, But it's now getting into it and going over these styles and sampling different kinds. I mean, it's like definitely. I will definitely be searching out this worldwide stout for a while.
Well, it comes out only like once a year, so it's here, it's gone. So
we'll
let you know though.
We'll keep you in mind, and
we'll let you know when it comes out.
Yeah,
heads up to at your favorite store because it'll be there. It'll be like $10 a bottle, and ittle be singles only. And
maybe on our social media we can start making like calendars of when releases come out.
Absolutely, that information's all over the web.
At Beer Nuts Podcast on Twitter and
at MichiganBeerGuy.com on the hipster. On MichiganBeerGuy.com.
And while the show was going on, you can email the show, beernutspodcast@ChristopherMedia.net, and Instagram at beernutspodcast.
I'd also like to add that we had a winner last week in our Win This Glass. Samantha Kelly from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Congratulations.
All right.
Your glass was shipped out, and I confirmed that she did receive it. And I asked her to send a picture of her drinking a beer out of the glass, and she has agreed to do so. So look for that soon. And we have a winner coming up. That somebody that I'm going to name a winner tomorrow because I was giving it a full week. So we'll have another winner of the glass. So go to Win This Glass at MichiganBeerGuy.com and win our beer glass. You can also be a Michigan Beer Guy, even if you're a Michigan Beer Girl, because we just roll that way.
All right. Cheers to that. That's awesome.
We just want
Michigan Beer person.
That's all we're about. There's no right or wrong. You like a Bud Light. We just want to expose you to a lot of different beers and have a good time. Spread the love.
Speaking of love, thanks for all of the love on Twitter. Over 3,000 beer nuts on Twitter.
Oh, man.
And they're real people, too. I didn't buy a bunch of Taiwanese teenagers. These are actual people who have followed us on Twitter. I've been pilfering the founders in the Shorts Twitter accounts for followers, but they're following back, and people have been tweeting us what they've been drinking, and it's cool. It's nice to see too. We're slowly getting across the country. It's from the Midwest, East Coast, all the way through the West Coast. Japan, Germany, Ireland. I mean, there's a home brewery from Norway that favorites and retweets our shows every week. So I mean, well, it's crazy how small the internet has made the world when it comes to things like this. So thank you for everybody on the social media.
Cheers to our listeners. Cheers all the way.
Yes.
Hey, and if you're out there and you work at a brewery, you own a brewery, you're a brewer yourself, and there's something you'd like to talk about it, we'll Skype you in for a show. Yeah. We want to include you, our listeners, in the show.
Email beernutspodcast@ChristopherMedia.net if you want to get in touch with the show, and we'll go from there.
We're the people's choice.
Yes. All right. Well, at that point, guys, I believe we have the sign off. JR?
As we say in old Mexico City,
AMF.
If you enjoy this show and want more people to know about it, head on over to iTunes, leave a comment, and rate it 5 stars. Make sure you like and share us on Facebook, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Just search for Christopher Media. Thank you in advance for supporting Christopher Media by clicking on the PayPal button and by clicking through to all the sponsors who support ChristopherMedia.net. Most importantly, we would like to take the time to extend an extra special thanks to you. Christopher Media could not exist without your support. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net, and thank you for listening. Christopher Media. Let's make some noise. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Introducing touch-free payments from PayPal, a safe way for your customers to pay. Simply download the PayPal app and display your own unique QR code for your customers to scan. Whether you're a market seller,
I'll take 2 tomatoes and a cucumber,
poodle pamperer, piano tuner, or plumber. Signing up to accept touch-free payments for your business is easy. Touch-free QR code payments. Not applicable to PayPal Here transactions. Other fees may apply. Shop safe with PayPal.
Good afternoon. Would you like to try a free sample of our double fudge brownie?
Oh, sure. That's very good. I'll just take one more, just to be sure. Yep, still very good.
Some things never change. Like never being able to take just one free sample. And Geico saving folks lots of money on their car insurance.
is that macadamia nut I taste? Let me take one.